especially to those that help spread the word on X. So as I said in my previous video, if we stand together collectively, then we cannot be ignored. So the Corporate Transparency Act is effectively dead on arrival. The Treasury Department will not enforce the BOI filing.
So welcome to Pegasus versus the World, where we take on challenges, comedy, trending topics, and some travel.
City boy! City boy!
So out of all the news, so the news is crazy today. Today is, what is today? Tuesday? I don't know exactly the date. It's like March, maybe 4th. But this stood out to me, and there's an onslaught of things that happened. But this is good news, and I just finished filing my taxes. I actually need to email my CPA saying everything looks good, file, and I will pay the government my money. And currently it ain't going to Ukraine or to fancy hotels for illegal immigrants, so we'll see where it goes. Now, let's keep it real. The tariffs hit today. The tariffs hit. Stock market is down. Bitcoin is down. What's going to happen? You know, this tariff thing, this is how I take the tariffs. I don't think, so the people that criticize the tariffs, I don't think they know. And the people that are pro-tariffs, I don't think either side actually knows. It's almost like believing in a higher power. It's faith. Now, there's some times in the past where, you know, tariffs have worked, and this is where the concept has come from. Will it work in the current state? I honestly don't know. I don't know. And I think there is some speculation to it. And so all you can do is kind of find out. What I do know is before anything good happens, always that there has to be a little pain. It's just like working out, right? You got to feel pain to build a muscular body. And it's easy to criticize what's currently going on because everyone wants to glamorize the last administration and make it seem this way and then demonize this one, or vice versa. It depends on where you sit, right? So this is all going on in real time, but this is the one that I wanted to talk about because this is what affects me most. And we're going to find out how tariffs affect Americans. What's the long play? What's the short play? We're just going to find out in real time. And people can get on their soapbox at the end and say, it worked, it didn't work. I'm cool with that. So that's where we're at. Tariffs hit today, started today in Canada and Mexico, I believe. So that's going to be interesting. What else? Oh, yeah, the stock market is starting to it's looking interesting. And I noticed Bitcoin because Bitcoin been hovering at that 100K mark for a minute. And Bitcoin always goes ups and downs, so I don't know how that's going to play out. I do think Trump is so pro-crypto, and this is not financial advice, but he is so pro-crypto. If you start seeing a dip, there's a saying, don't trip by the dip. Yeah, because if the government gets behind crypto, you're going to see some runs again, and it might not even be in the same. You know, typically there's people who track, what's going to hit next and stuff. I think there is going to be also some things that people aren't going to be able to predict. There's going to be a lot of, there's just so much new stuff going down. But let's get into this. This is the BOI filing, which kind of, is an invasive way of the government dealing with small business in a way that it should. Like the BOI filing was supposed to be for bigger businesses, and now it's like if you make $5 million or more, you're not subject to this filing, which I already had filed, so it's kind of bullshit. But let's just see where things stand. I always like hearing this information. I'm watching this from Brian Chan's channel. It's True Tax Value is his channel. He's dope. He's very logical. He's very middle road type of sensible, logical dude. So let's go.
Especially to those that help spread the word on X. So as I said in my previous video, if we stand together collectively, then we cannot be ignored. So the Corporate Transparency Act is effectively dead on arrival. The Treasury Department will not enforce the BOI filing. So if you haven't filed your BOI report, you don't need to. Now, I want to clarify a few things for you, and then I'll give you some closure. Okay. So the Corporate Transparency Act passed in January of 2021. It required small businesses to report their personal information to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. So they asked...
Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. It just sounds insane. Anyways.
There were 50 questions and for a copy of your driver's license or your passports. And any time that you make changes to your business regarding this information, you had to report it to them. And if you didn't comply, then they could penalize you up to $10,000 and 2 years in prison. So this is directly from their website. And what's crazy is that the politicians that passed this, they called this a big anti-money laundering effort. But these were the industries that were exempt from reporting. So take a look at the list. Banks, government-related entities, money service businesses, broker-dealers, venture capital funds, pooled investment vehicles, and any business that makes over $5 million, which essentially meant that this was targeting small businesses.
Which is crazy because we're already like, there's this huge debacle. People are like, oh, support Ukraine, I'm looking at the money that's going to Ukraine. And there's a lot of things that would allude to a ton of money laundering going through Ukraine, a lot through the Biden family, but just a lot of just stuff that wasn't even aware of, man. I didn't even understand they're getting our military vehicles and weapons. And this MFer Zelensky's pretty much like on some auction shit, like to the highest bidder making bread. Like, dude, it's so effed up. And the way history kind of works is like, essentially, some of these weapons are going to be probably used on, like, another war is going to pop up and they'll be like, oh, it's so crazy that this group of terrorists have these sophisticated weapons. Like, it's such a freaking smoke and mirror show. And I have nothing against Ukraine, the Ukrainians. I am not pro-Russia, but it's just like, yo, man, as a taxpayer, you just start wondering, where the fuck is my money going? Like, I'm riding around in America. I'm like, why are there all these potholes? Why are the school systems effed up? Why are the vets in the streets? Y'all care more about Ukrainians and illegal migrants than the veterans that fought for this country so you could have the luxuries and opportunities you have? And I just get kind of pissed off, if we're being real, with all these people acting like America isn't a privilege. You know, people there's no such thing as white privilege. There's no such thing as black privilege. There's no such thing as pretty privilege. There is such thing as American privilege. I've traveled this freaking globe. Bro, if you're from America, you have a lot of opportunities and access that people don't have. And it's just wild, man. It's just freaking wild when you start looking at it. But okay, keep going.
Now, this was being challenged in courts, and there was back and forth on whether this was constitutional or not. So it even made it up to the Supreme Court. In the meantime, President Trump and Elon Musk, who are supposed to be champions of deregulation, were absolutely silent, not a peep. So I took matters into my own hands. On February 24th, I called out President Trump and Elon Musk. I asked for your help to share this message. Over 2,000 people did, and we got the movement going. So on March 1st, someone on the X platform asked Elon Musk to stop this BOI filing, and Musk replied that he'll look into it. And by March 2nd, the word got to President Trump. So this is what President Trump posted. He said, exciting news. The Treasury Department has announced that they are suspending all enforcement of the outrageous and invasive beneficial ownership information, BOI, reporting requirements for U.S. citizens. The Biden rule has been an absolute disaster for small businesses nationwide. Furthermore, Treasury is now finalizing an emergency regulation to formally suspend this rule for American businesses. The economic menace of BOI reporting will soon be no more. And now I want to show you this. So here's what the Treasury Department has officially announced on March 2nd. With respect to the Corporate Transparency Act, not only will it not enforce any penalties or fines, but it will not enforce any penalties or fines against U.S. citizens after rule changes take effect either. So the Treasury Department will narrow the scope of the rule to foreign companies only. Treasury takes this step in the interest of supporting hardworking American taxpayers and small businesses. And here's a quote from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. This is a victory for common sense. Today's action is part of President Trump's bold agenda to unleash American prosperity by reining in burdensome regulations, in particular, for small businesses that are the backbone of the American economy. So listen, I just want to end with this. I just want to say sincerely, thank you so much for contributing to helping produce this outcome. I believe that this is the way it should be. We don't want to see further government overreach. And as I said, collectively, we will be heard. So thank you again for your support, and I'm happy to see that this is finally over.
Bruh, I have nothing else to say. That's dope. You know, we can sit here and focus on let's say the shortcomings of the government, or we could just focus on movements in a direction that is, hopefully where we want to go. This is a good movement in the right direction. There's a bunch of stuff that I see on the, that I would criticize. And I'm just like, I have no problem talking about it. This isn't a news channel though. I talk about trending topics, and politics is so embedded in my day-to-day life and your day-to-day life, whether you like it or not. I think it's good to talk about some of these things. And some of you guys dropped some really good comments. Some of y'all will see some things that I didn't see. Again, with the tariff thing, I don't really think people know, because it's so what happens is it's about reaction to the action, right? Like, in my opinion, we've seen tariffs work at a certain capacity in the past. So they're trying to implement it, hoping to have that same type of reaction. But we're in a new global market, so there is a potential that it doesn't work the way it was seen. And it is. It's, putting your cards on the table and trying to make a move. Will it work? Will it not? I don't know. All these people so convinced that it's not going to work absolutely, I think that's a bit wild, considering it has worked in the past. However, also being totally sold that it's the end all be all to everything. I don't know. We'll see. But I think for radical change, you need radical risk. And me being an entrepreneur and someone who's had some success, I'd like to see a lot more success. But the bit of success I have taken in has been dramatic risk, taking dramatic chances. Sometimes you take a L. What if tariffs are a L? This is possible. But I don't think listening to people who say they have the answers and this is, they might say this is why it won't work, and then it ends up not working. And they'll be like, see, I told you, but then it not even be the reason they said. We're going to find out in real time, you guys. So the stock market's acting crazy. Crypto's down a little bit. Tariffs are implemented, and the BOI filing has been terminated. So you guys tap it in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking, where things going. I ain't gonna lie, man. The one thing about the current administration is they show up. Whether you want to criticize them, whether you think they're right or wrong, there's massive stuff. There's stuff that I would criticize this current administration on. But the one thing I appreciate is they show up. They show up, man. I've seen Trump in J.D. Vance's face so much since they took office, and Biden was just like a ghost in a ghost town, even when he was running. It's just weird. Like the Biden presidency was just freaking weird. And it's just cool to see people who show up. Like they show up to the game. Whether you like their decisions or not, they freaking show up. And, America's a strong country that's been weakened heavily by, a lot of different agendas. And we're going to see what happens. Are we going to make a comeback, or are we going to be stuck in the sand? We will soon see. But anyways, you guys let me know what I got, what I missed, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.
City boy, city boy.